I'm having a
There
ball
we
by
are.
myself over here.
Uh-huh. You know your mic
Listening
is
to the
live
new-
when that's on.
The new music?
You know your mic is live when that's on, right?
I do, yeah, I do.
Okay. As long as you know that.
Yeah, I
As long
don't
as you
care.
know that. All right. So what's up,
So
buddy?
how was your trip? Hey, whoa. How was your trip?
2 weekends, 2 trips. Yep. Dr. Vera hooked me up this weekend for my my birthday month, which I share with Christmas and New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
She took me up to Vero Beach. We spent the day out on the water on Saturday and went to a nice restaurant Saturday night. Friday night we went to hung out at the beach. And Sunday afternoon we stayed at a nice Airbnb, like a quarter of a mile off of the beach, Vero Beach. Very nice beach. Vero Beach is nice.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that place.
Yeah, it's very it's a tight-knit community. It's a beach community. It's a, I don't know if it's a retirement type community, but I think it's an older community.
Sure.
But hey, it's a nice place. It's funny that they have the intercoastal, and Stewart was like this too. And we went to was it Jensen Beach or something? I think last month. They call the intercoastal over there, or the intercoastal, depending on who you talk to. They call it the river. They call it a river. So we were out on the boat with friends, and I said, "Is this a river?" What? And he says, "No, it's the intercoastal." I said, "Why do they call it a river?" Yeah, I don't know. It's a local thing. Okay,
It's got to be.
Yeah, it is. But it was nice. We had a good time. Last weekend was Universal in Orlando, and then Disney Springs.
Yeah.
And then
rides. Did you go on rides?
Yeah. Universal. Only the virtual rides. Universal Studios does a great job with the virtual rides because they are basically in a kind of a community. Like there's apartments and condos around them. Unlike Disney, that has all the land is theirs.
Yeah.
So they compensate for that, and I'm telling you, they do a really good job of these 3D virtual rides.
You didn't go on the Hulk?
Roller coasters? No. I went on one of those roller coasters once, and it was at Six Flags in California. And it was the
on the roller coaster.
No.
On the roller coaster.
No, I won't. Yeah, I'm not. No. If it comes to me in the roller coaster wins every time. I went on like the Batman when it first came. So we're going back to the 90s in California. And dude, that was a big mistake. I was messed up for like 4 days. Like when you get motion sickness,
what do you mean messed up? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm like feeling nauseous. I'm just feeling all crappy motion sickness, man. Okay. Dude, you're doing the loop to loop stuff. I'm
the Hulk. When you shoot out of them, I love that thing. It's the greatest thing ever.
I watched it. It was fun to watch, but that was the extent of it.
You're like my wife, the waiver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody
I like the water
waiver.
rides. We got soaked.
Yeah, the water rides are cool there too.
On like there was like Popeye's, I don't know, riverboat experience or something.
Yeah,
It is. They just blatantly get you wet. It's not even like the normal water ride where you might get wet if you go down and it. No. Water guns pointing at you. And my wife and I, she wasn't really expecting that, but it was fun. But we had a good time. And then, so then next weekend is my birthday, and she's taking me to really hotsy-totsy, posh brunch in West Palm Beach.
Does she
you can eat lobster. All you can eat.
Does she know your roots? I just want to know, does she know your roots?
What, that I was
Does she understand what she's introducing you to?
I used to be a Hollywood boy. Now I'm a Boca boy. She made me a Boca boy.
Right. Right. You are.
No, she's a
pampered ass.
Good girl. She's a good girl. She takes care of me.
Yes, she is. She should be sainted.
She's a very good girl. I'm a very blessed and lucky man. Very lucky man. So, so let's get into things here. Somebody, a viewer, sent me.
You got some info for us.
Yeah. In regard to, there is the local Board of Appeals will be entertaining an application for special permit to use 45 Birch Road as a short-term bed and breakfast Transient Lodging. Okay? A hearing will be held this Thursday evening. No flops and socks. No, Dave Phillips. No flops and socks for that brunch. Sorry to interrupt the show, but that's Thursday evening at 6:30 at the Joseph Harvey Hearing Room in Winthrop. Now, this is kind of important to the people that live in Winthrop that own houses in Winthrop. The Birch Road Neighborhood Association opposes the use of 45 Birch Road as a short-term bed and breakfast transient lodging for a number of reasons, including, one, disruption of the, quote, village environment by creation of an unwanted, quote, commercial environment within the Birch Road neighborhood, which is a beautiful and tranquil residential neighborhood located in what we call the Maze in Winthrop, right?
I know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Two, the turning of a charming residential dwelling into a rooming house. Three, the infiltration of transient people into the neighborhood. Now, let me stop right there. This isn't being pompous. This isn't being self-righteous. This is neighborhood preservation. Now, understanding that people have the right to run a business, but if you're running a business and it's affecting your neighbors, you should talk to your neighbors first, I would think, right? And say, hey, any opposition. If there's too many that say yeah, then you say, okay. Or you say, to hell with them. I'm all about the money. It's my right. So what?
Hold on there. You're on a good point. Do you remember me talking about one of the Airbnb's owners coming to one of our ORC meetings? This is him.
Okay.
They're talking about him.
Okay.
He's the one, in his defense, he's following the damn rules. So the people on Birch Road, it's right. I mean, you know where it is from Emerson Road. I mean, I can see it out my office window here.
Yeah.
It's right near where the Robsons used to live.
Exactly.
Right? 3 doors down. Yeah, 3 or 4 doors down. Yeah.
So
same side. Yep. So anyway, sorry, carry on. My bad.
No, that's okay. That's okay. They said the infiltration of transient people into the neighborhood, the change of that neighborhood from a residential area to a tourist attraction. Okay. Some people might see it that way also. An increased demand for available on-street parking. Now, evidently, they changed that dwelling from a one-family to a two-family when they first bought it. I guess it's owned by 3 investors. The basement became an apartment. It's actually listed on Zillow as an apartment. Who I don't know how they approved that. Now, an interesting thing, and I'll get to it, about this application. And then you have issues of public safety because you never know who's coming into the neighborhood. But Winthrop's just like any town; it's open. Anyone can come in and out. So that's kind of general. Furthermore, the town of Winthrop zoning ordinance failed to adequately regulate short-term bed and breakfast transient lodging, as, for instance, there are no regulations concerning the need for available off-street parking, handicap accessibility for those who suffer from physical disabilities, and the need for background checks for those who utilize these types of establishments. Enforcement of those ordinances is non-existent. Presumably, enforcement lies with the town of Winthrop's Department of Inspectional Services, which we discussed last week. Yet many of the local bed and breakfasts go unchecked, much to the detriment of those property owners. Of those
Chagrin.
Yeah, screw me up. I was doing so good.
I know.
To the detriment of those property owners who directly abut these establishments. The applications for special permit that will be heard by the Board of Appeals this Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. at the Joseph Harvey Hearing Room fails to disclose, this is interesting, fails to disclose how many rooms will be utilized for purpose of the bed and breakfast, right? Is it 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms? The neighbors have a right to know, yet the applicant is withholding that information from those neighbors. So they might not even have to live there because it's a 4-bedroom house, I believe.
Right.
So they might not even have to even live there in the dwelling, and they make money on every room. Quote, let me see. Today, an investor is seeking to transform 45 Birch Road into a legal rooming house. Tomorrow, an investor may be seeking to transform a house in your neighborhood into a legal rooming house. Attend the hearing and be heard. The Board of Appeals hearing, once again, this Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. in the Joseph Harvey hearing room. If you do not want the houses in your neighborhood to do this, be heard. You know, if you're for it, then don't be heard. Go roll with it, let it happen. But don't complain. Don't complain when the 3-decker on your street turns into 3 Airbnbs and you can't find a parking spot when you get home from work.
With every room in each flat, every room is an individual renter.
Absolutely.
That could be 9 cars.
That's basically what they're saying. Yeah. That's basically what they're saying. I have the applicant's name and all, but I'm not going to dox them.
No doxing allowed?
No, not on this. I mean, people just go to the meeting. It doesn't matter what their name is. People should just go to the meeting. 6:30 at the Harvey Room. Be heard.
Just
if you oppose this,
get out there.
Listen, you people rallied around the people on Shore Drive. You rallied around the people at 5 Fremont. People might need to rally around you someday. If you haven't rallied, helped the cause, well, join in. And then,
you know, this is a good spot to stop and just mention, this is how communities are saved or lost. Bed and breakfasts on Birch Road. Okay. So I live on Emerson. I'm only sharing this because this is where people seem to target. A lot of people want to live on Emerson, where I live. Like, it is in the heart of the maze. It's not right on the water where you're dealing with the planes right at you. It's just, and there's always a lot of kids. There's always like 30 kids that live in the street. So it's a great place for kids. Birch Road is not very different, and it's one street over. And, you know, turning these places into what are essentially commercial properties is going to not devalue so much, probably will, probably won't, I don't know, but it's going to change the fabric again. It's going to go, now you're invading suburbia. Okay, so the center, you want to turn the center business district into a multi-use mixed-use residential area, and you're discouraging families from living down the center. You're building units that are small and attract more of the young urban professional type, the single type, the biker, the scooter, that type. Now you want to start moving that out into suburbia. This place, over time, in future generations, is really not a great place for families any longer. I mean, it still is. There are things still happening. You had the event down, the Christmas tree lighting down in the center on the Friday after Christmas. We have stuff that goes on for Halloween, trunk or treat. There's always good things going on for the families. There's parties and festivities down in Ingleside Park. But the thing that is changing is that within neighborhoods, you know, there is beginning to be cracks within the neighborhoods, very small fissures, maybe not cracks, but fissures. So this is one of those things that can be community changing. And this is how local politics affects national politics, because now you're building what type of community are you building? You know, what type of ideology do they have when there's no families? Let's face it, families are where the ideology that you and I line up with come from.
You moved to Winthrop because it's a nice small town. It's grown, but it's still, in general, a small town.
Yep.
You moved there for that. If you wanted to live in an apartment-ridden, street, you go move into the city.
Dorchester.
If you want that small town feel, keep that small town feel.
That's it.
Preserve your town. Stick up for your town. Stick up for yourself, because like I said, this could open up next door to you. How would you like it if all of a sudden that 4-bedroom house next door to you is an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast, and there's 4 cars parked in front of your house when you get home from work? I'm telling you, you're not going to like it, but you're going to say, oh, I should have said something. Don't be too little too late, people.
You know, and on that front, on the too little too late, we've been talking here on the show about the TIPS project on Revere Street, the infrastructure project, the bike lanes they're adding and the like.
Yes.
I think we're already at too little too late, but I wanted to bring something up that was sent to the transcript in the forum from let me just refresh my memory on the author of this, Frank Constantino. He wrote a letter to the transcript regarding this project, and it was long. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I've highlighted a couple of excerpts. But if you recall, we talked about, and I posted on the group page, the what was going to happen going up and over the hill as you exit Kennedy Drive, looking left and right. That whole look and feel is going to change. They're actually they're going to be taking down trees, and from what I understand, there's going to be a domain take of some of the Winthrop housing property, and trees from that property are coming down. So to that end, Frank Constantino is the chairman of Winthrop Trees and Grow. It's a Facebook page. It's a
Hey,
Facebook
Todd,
group.
excuse me. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go doc for like 30 seconds. All right,
Yeah, no
but keep
worries.
talking. Everything's cool.
All right. So yeah, he's the chairperson of Winthrop Trees and Grow, and I had tagged his group with some of this information. They went and looked into it. He has now since written a letter after one of the town meetings addresses that brought up this information. This letter was long, and it went on to talk about what happened at the meeting, the project in general. This letter to the editor also went on to talk about his credentials. So just starting here, and again, I'm jumping around. However, it only recently became evident that not all impacted parties had been adequately informed or offered opportunities for input in this process, since much of the engineering work was developed and seemingly accepted during COVID years of 220, 221. The integration for resident input, especially the abutting senior housing complex, never happened during this time. According to the directors of the Winthrop Housing Authority, no mention of accommodation was made for resident seniors, emergency or town vehicles accessing either the Kennedy Drive or Golden Drive housing complexes, and how the new road plans would impact this population. Little attention was made for the removal of the green apron. So that would be that grass strip that would be between a sidewalk and a street, the green apron and the trees lining the street. And it goes on to talk more about that and about the impact on the canopy. And then it picks up here, based on now he's talking about his design experience with comparable urban roadway projects in Boston and around the country. The main focus, that was a typo by the transcript, of course. The main focus for CHA, that's the project and the company running the project, is maximizing the most efficient travel of cars on Winthrop's Boulevard. However, they have overlooked the overall spatial quality of Revere Street and its aesthetics of the west buffer edge. That's the one where the housing would be, which is a most pleasant walkway connection from the Highlands to the center. This path used not only by walking residents, but more so by seniors with mobility issues, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Wheelchairs, canes, etc., has been designed by the engineering firm CHA such that the roadway and bike lanes diminish this pathway considerably. Roadway and lanes diminish this pathway considerably to make room for bike lanes that may be seldom used. I mean, this man's article is spot on. I've invited him to the show. I'm hoping that I hear from him. I want to get his perspective in more detail, but this is, I don't even know what to say. I mean, this is a hardship, right, for the senior citizens.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back and think about this for a second, Scott. If he's correct, the senior citizens who live next to this bike lane
and have lived there for 30, that thing has been there, what? Golden Drive has been there for 40 years?
My whole life.
Yeah. Golden
my whole
Drive,
life.
yeah.
They weren't even addressed. Their concerns are not even addressed. And now they're going to have to navigate again. I mean, these bike lanes, you're going to be lucky if 5 or 6 people even use them.
Well, listen, Julia Pringles Wallers wants to bring her baby on the bike trail. Remember that whole thing?
Yes. This just
the
did, by the way.
I could bring my babies in bike lanes, right?
I believe.
But don't worry, Julia, about the senior citizens that have lived here when you were growing up out in that leftist bed of crap out in California. I said it. Don't worry about those people.
She's been appointed, by the way, to Mara Haley's transportation committee.
Good for her.
So now she's going to be right there. Anyway, getting back to these bike. So I brought this, by the way.
It's bike lanes for everybody.
So I brought this back up. I was talking to a friend of the show and all around great guy, Rob DeMarco, about this. And I said, Rob, you got to look at it this way. We as a community don't want to lose $6 million. So we're going to inconvenience our seniors. We're going to disrespect our seniors. We've become, and I used a bad word. It starts with a W and ends with an S, and it rhymes with a horse. We're money.
So the mindset goes like this. I might be right in this. I think I'm pretty close to it. The mindset is, well, they'll adjust.
Seniors?
We're gonna listen. This is how they rationalize this stuff, right? Oh, they'll adjust. They always adjust. They'll have to adjust. But we're gonna get new pipes. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get that. It's,
But it's not juggling. The people on the council, a lot of them agree that this bike lanes are a bit much, but they won't push. They're being told by K&P, our law firm, by the way, who has never, ever won a lawsuit for us, not one time. And we keep taking their advice. What kind of assholes are we that we haven't fired these people yet? But that aside, they're telling us that we can't. And I'm saying, does anybody really think Mass Department of the State Highway Department wants the publicity of Winthrop coming out in the news saying, yeah, we wanted to preserve a safe passageway for our seniors, and this useless bike path that barely goes a half a mile that will never be used is making it difficult and it's taking away land and earth and trees and the greenery for a bike lane that's barely ever going to get used. It makes you think. And then we come in. So we set him up with that jab, and then we hit him with the knockout punch. Fine. Don't give us the $6 million. Whatever you think it costs to build those stupid bike lanes, keep that. But we want the rest because these bike lanes are a hardship. It's absurd.
So my father, the old Viking, lives over in Medford, and he gets a lot of. He's 87. God bless him. He'll be 88 in February. Always. He is always in contact, and they're always in contact with him. The Mystic Valley Elders, right? The advocates for the elderly. Now, does Winthrop have an advocacy agency for the elderly? Like over there, so
Council on Aging. Well,
I mean, these people like Mystic Valley Elders, they help with everything, like counseling. If you're having a dispute with your oil bill, if you need your cleaning done, like they do everything for the elderly, right? And it's free. They get free representation. Who is the organization on this? All right, on the Winthrop side, that advocates for the elderly, because I think they would be a good group to talk to about an issue like this as a jump off, Now,
I think the senior center.
Well, again, there's usually a group. It's a nonprofit, I believe. I believe Mystic Valley Elders.
You mean outside of the government service? I thought
outside of the government service. This is So I'm just curious if anybody would know that. That would be a
Yeah.
good group to talk to, number one, to advocate for this. So what you're going to have then is, if this gets put on hold, you're going to have maybe town councilors or members of the community saying, but I was going to get new pipes. We were going to have a new road. Like, so I guess you really have to take a stand on who you want to piss off. You know?
That's true. Yeah, well, like every other government thing,
I don't
right?
know if there's a happy medium there. I mean, right? I don't know if there's a happy medium there.
I don't think it. First of all, I don't think we lose the money if we push back hard and we take it to the media and we bring out to light that we've the language in the I haven't read this, just based upon my understanding in the multiple conversations I've had. The language within the grant rules basically says, you can try to prove a hardship. If taking away safe passage for people in wheelchairs, canes, walkers, whatever, everyday people who, if their pedestrians are being impacted by this, and pedestrians are going to outnumber bicyclists on that path all day long because they walk to the bus stops. They're there. There's always people running up the hill. There's never people riding bikes. It is a rarity. So I really don't think if it's mass highway or, whatever, we can win this fight. We can win. We have to stop being afraid. We have to stop listening to K&P. Those people should do the legal profession a favor and retire.
Isn't there are there lawyers in Winthrop?
Yeah.
They can handle this stuff.
I mean, I think junior lawyers could do a better job than these people. I honestly think, seriously, I think there's like a cabal of law firms that kind of provide the same advice to all municipalities so they can corner all the municipality markets. So they can say, look, these are all the different law firms that work with municipalities. These are the best ones. We have the most experience. Frig that. I want a shark. I want someone that can go into the courtroom and litigate and win. God.
Well,
anyway,
we're on the side of the tree people this time.
We are. And
we're all on board.
And by the way, here's an interesting, you mentioned Julia's name. If you recall, she ended our communications because of something that she thinks happened between me and her friend, one of her best friends. She said, well, her best friend is on the other side of this issue. I wonder how that's going to go.
Well, they'll have discussion over, cappuccino and,
frappuccino,
whatever, they'll have discussion and,
dialogue.
It is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. Listen, you and I don't agree on everything either. We talk, and friendships don't get ended like that, but
we're different. We're different.
Oh, we're different. All right.
Well, I would never say to you, people like us would never say to each other, well, you're not liberal then, or you're not conservative if you don't agree with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are two people. These are two people that can't let their ideology down ever. Yeah. They can't.
Yeah.
Like, ever.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So, let's, and we're not tabling this. This is still an ongoing conversation. We want to have people from and why isn't the transcript put? I wonder if they're going to put a reporter. But they're not reporters anymore. They're activist writers. That's what I call them. And especially
that's interesting description.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Journalism and true reporting is the Twitter files. That's some serious reporting. But will the transcript put somebody on this story? I wonder.
It's not a story
to them. Is it too big
for
for them? Is it too big?
Well, they'd have to do too much work, and then
I guess.
I don't know. I'm just speculating anyway. All I'm doing is
speculating. Well, I mean, listen, a good investigative reporter gets in and just gets the story, no matter who you piss off. But the transcript evidently might not want to, ruffle somebody's feathers, so they're going to stay neutral and just kind of, we'll just write to letters to the editor. We'll take those, So we've been discussing the dress code at the middle school. Yes. Now I came across, and I know we have a little bit to talk about here.
We do.
So I was doing some digging today, and I came up with this fact. It's not a fact. It's basically experts claim that there are many benefits to school dress codes. Here are some of the most important advantages. 1, a dress code promotes a more serious school atmosphere, which emphasizes academics and promotes good behavior. 2, dress codes have proven to increase student achievement by encouraging students to concentrate more on their studies and less on their wardrobe. Now, the middle school has this, 14th Amendment where they can do it. So anyways, and less on their wardrobe. 3, and it says a de-emphasis on clothing can also save money as there will be less pressure to keep up with expensive trends and fashions. Oh, I live in Boca, buddy. I lived through that one. There was a lot of hell no's in this house, trust me. Number 3, dress codes in school settings reduce social conflict and peer pressures that may be associated with appearance. 4, studies indicate that school dress code can reduce the prevalence of certain behaviors which are often expressed through wardrobe, such as violence or promiscuity. And 5, as opposed to uniforms, dress codes still allow students to wear what they want, which leaves students with a sense of choice and expression. While teenagers will always find a way to express themselves, imposing boundaries can prevent them from resorting to extremes that can sometimes lead to undesirable consequences. That's what my person on the inside said. They are very concerned. He is very concerned with something's going to happen in the Winthrop school system. The middle school is going to be like, oh, shit. And that dress code, this is the reason this was all brought up. So school dress codes are a way to teach students the importance of a respectable appearance, which is a lesson that can positively impact their self-respect and self-esteem. Now, advocate teachers might say, oh, this is 2023. This isn't 1980. You know what? I also looked something else up. We're definitely going to go over an hour tonight, buddy. I also looked something else up. Let's see. Which one is it? I went to the elementary school handbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
The elementary school has a dress code.
No surprise.
So I'm just gonna read it. Take a minute or two. Appropriate attire is important to the learning environment at the Cummings Elementary School. The following are examples of inappropriate dress. All pants, shorts, and skirts worn below waist level and /or, which allow undergarments to be visible at any time. Pajamas or sleepwear, slippers unless it's a special occasion. Headgear of any sort, including hats, sweatbands, bandanas, kerchiefs, hoods, headphones, radios, etc. These are the things that you can't wear, evidently. Shirts with obscene, distracting, or inappropriate, as deemed by the administration, symbols or language. Bare midriff shirts, sheer fabric shirts, strapless shirts. Now, sheer fabric shirts can go for men too, for boys also. Like you get a mesh tank top or whatever, right? Let me see. Strapless shirts, low-cut blouses, backless dresses, spaghetti strap tank tops, and other shirts deemed by the administration to be too revealing. Religious exemptions are honored. Mini skirts, bikini shorts, shorts, shorts/skirts should be longer than the fingertips of the arms down at the student's sides. Footwear that can be considered a safety hazard to the student or students in general, e.g. flip-flops, slides, heels, heelys. Shoe sneakers that have laces that are neither tied nor tucked in. It is important to note that the above guidelines, the above are guidelines, and if a student's dress is not deemed inappropriate, there will be no action taken. If a dress code violation is noted, the student will be escorted either to the nurse or the adjustment counselor. The student will be reminded, and it goes a little further, right? Final judgment on the appropriateness of a student's attire belongs to the school administrator. That's the elementary school, right?
Yep.
Then you go to the high school, and this high school is, let me see. Yeah, students are expected to dress appropriately for professional learning environment, clothing which displays alcohol, drugs. It goes on, and it's the same thing. No tank tops, no sleeveless shirts, bra straps showing, 3 fingers, length of shorts, skirts. They dresses all of it, footwear. It's a whole paragraph of, normal, of do's and don'ts and what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, right? Mostly what's unacceptable.
Yep.
Then you go to the middle school.
It's the best one.
Check this out. The middle school is literally in the handbook, 4 sentences long, pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much. Winthrop Middle School supports students' rights to self-expression, accorded by the 14th Amendment. So that eliminates, so in other words, and then it goes on, students should wear clothes appropriate to the task. What's that?
That's one sentence. I'm counting for you.
Yeah. Students should wear clothes appropriate to the task that do not display or encourage illicit activities, swears, derogatory language, slurs, or violence. In short, clothing should not contradict the school's goal to create a safe learning environment. Great. So, 3 sentences, right? It says rights to self-expression. That eliminates everything below it. That's the first sentence anyway. That eliminates everything below it. Mr. Smith, I'm expressing myself. This is my right to self-expression. I want to wear a tube top. Right? And what are they going to say? So why is the elementary school and the high school have pretty detailed dress codes, but the middle school and Principal Curley decide that this is okay?
I want to give you a little more fodder for this too. So
your mic's a little messed up, it sounds like.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Hello?
All right.
Does that mean you can or can't hear me?
Sounds like you're breaking up. It might be just me. I don't know.
Could be me too. Okay, so there's 2 examples that they gave in the policy that were not shown on the screen. The original proposal actually had a
Stop 1 second. Stop.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna need you to go into your settings.
Yep.
That cog down there.
Yep.
Right. Log out of the mic. Go to default, then go back to the mic, the Roadcaster.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. We good?
Yeah, see? I'm technically
amazing. So, anyway, there was so there were 2 examples provided that we're not sharing on the screen for the dress code for the middle school. Doesn't even matter what they say. There was a 3rd option that was in the original proposal, I guess. And this will tip you off that I had a conversation with someone pretty close to what happened, pretty close to the middle school site council.
So let me before you get into that, I just want to preface with saying this changed this year. Why? I looked at last year's dress code. It was uniformed with the elementary school, middle school, and high school. Now, why all of a sudden? Why did the high school get sued? I mean, the middle school get sued. Do you know of? Were there any hardcore complaints? Was there any?
There's information.
About, what's that?
There's a small amount of information I can share.
Okay.
Because of the conversation I had today.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep asking your questions.
No, those are the questions I'm asking. Why all of a sudden middle school and Principal Curley, Principal Curley decides to say, it's not me. It's not me. You're bad-mouthing me. It's a group of us. From what I understand, there's a group that decided this, not me. Well, listen, Principal Curley, you're the boss. You're the principal. You are the authority figure in that school. There's only one person above him, or maybe two, the assistant superintendent and the superintendent. Mm-hmm. Last time I checked, if you're on a committee, Principal Curley, and you're the principal, you're the boss. If you're not, you're doing something wrong.
And let's give a little context, because I had actually reached out to the principal of the school, and just for the listeners, I had received a response from Mr. Curley, and I did give him a heads up that I was going to be sharing some of this information, because he felt slighted and didn't want to have a phone conversation with me. He felt slighted by the show. He sent me an email saying that for the past several months, our weekly Winthrop Folks Facebook Live sessions have displayed insulting commentary directly related to me.
That's me, not you, Todd. That's me.
Yeah.
You've always been good.
Inaccurate information reporting related to the operation of management of the Winthrop Middle School. Inaccurate reporting related on every occasion. We've mentioned that, by the way. We've shared information. We've asked people to come on and help clear it up. But anyway, he didn't want to meet because of that. So I asked him the questions in email. He sent a long response. I'm not going to read the whole response. Suffice it to say, he did in the bullets. In his response, he said it's a group decision. So please know that it's not a decision made solely by the principal. I take a little issue with that because in my conversation, so I spoke to someone today. I was put in touch with someone who would not share their name. They would not tell me how they're close to this stuff at the school. But so far, what they've shared with me, I've been able to prove to myself that this has been accurate. First and foremost, the principal says it was a group decision. However, I'm told that, and maybe it is, but I was told that there may or may not have been a vote taken to approve the language that was sent forward to the school committee. So there was that. He also says the dress code was revised and written by the entire site council. I know at least one person on that student Winthrop Middle School site council was not in favor of some of the stuff that's in this and thought that the school dress code policy was strange.
That's a way to put it.
It was just like strange, and strange is probably not the best word, but it is
strange compared that the elementary school has a more strict dress code than the middle school.
So right. So one of the third options, so they gave examples of what you can wear, right? Sneakers and comfortable clothing should be worn for physical activity. Yeah. One of the options or examples they were providing was like students can wear a hooded sweatshirt, but not wear the hoods. Like that was an example of something that could be done, but they took that off the example list for God knows what reason. But just that was such a silly option that I wanted to share it with the group to demonstrate, first of all, how silly this policy really is. But here's an interesting factoid as well. I was told by the principal that the school site councils are made up of parents and faculty, faculty, school counselor, the principal, and the assistant principal. Okay. I'm looking at the school site council now, and a community member, by the way.
A community member, yes.
I'm looking at the school site council right now, which, by the way, according to several people, is not accurate. It's not updated. It doesn't have this year's actual list on it. But Connie Moore is listed as the community member for the high school, for the middle school site council. Connie Moore does not have any children in the school, to my knowledge. She is a teacher. She does not qualify as a community member. So there should be a random community member on that school site council or more.
So she's a teacher. One. She's a teacher, but she's the community member representative.
Right.
Because, come on, man. Like I said, was this group selected like the diversity and equity group? Like all like-minded people, pretty much.
It's a good question.
Who selected them?
And I have to be fair. So I did speak with some of the folks on the school committee, and the school committee, they did approve. They didn't read it. It's clear because the few I spoke to were not familiar with it.
Stop right there, please.
Okay.
I hate to keep interrupting you, but you have good stuff that I just can't keep in.
Okay.
So you're telling me that the school committee, right? The school committee who said, oh, whoa, wait a minute. That's not on us. They wrote it, right? Remember the finger got pointed back over at the school, at the middle school. And then Principal Curley comes along and says, well, the school committee approved it, right? So you got two fingers pointing at each other, but you're saying the school committee members some of them didn't read the handbook.
I'm betting all of them didn't read it. Okay. And by the way, Scott, I'm going to be fair here. Okay. I served for 4 years. There were things I didn't read. I trusted the people around me if they read it. And if I didn't have if it was something super important, I would abstain from the vote. Right. I think the handbook, I think that was something that I know I read the handbooks when I was on the school committee. When I voted for those handbooks, I read them. I was on the Fort Bank School Site Council. So, and we used to always have, I guess they're not listed as members, but one of the school committee members was part of the school site council. So anyway, the long and the short of that.
Do they just have a rubber stamp? Is that what the school committee members have? What do you whoever, Suzanne Leonard, Gus Martucci, blah, blah, blah. Rubber stamp it.
So as you mentioned, Gus, I spoke to Gus about this and I'm like, Gus, how did you let something like this go? Right. And he basically said he owned it. He said, look, I read the high school one. I figured the middle school was the same, which isn't an unreasonable assumption.
Because it was the same.
Exactly.
Last year it was the same.
The year previous,
and the year before that, it was the same.
That's right. And so to answer, but by the way, you brought up a good question, Scott. Why the change? So this person that I spoke to, never told me how they're connected to the site council, but was able to give me what they thought was what they knew to be information that occurred in terms of either emails to the council or conversations. One of the examples that was provided to the site council as a policy that could be body shaming, because it was the reason they changed the policy is because some of the policies in the current dress code could be viewed as body shaming.
That's pure.
It's crap.
Pure speculation. Absolute. Like, what if? You know what? If there was, I always say this, if there was no such thing as what ifs, would there be any questions? You know what I mean? Like, right. What if, but what if? You can what if something to death. Literally. You can what if it. So, man. Okay. I got to calm down.
Yeah, it's okay. Let it out.
Fire it up. You got to fire it up, buddy.
So one of the examples that was provided was, for example, this is identifying the appropriate width of a shoulder strap, whether it be a tank top, a bra, giving guidelines on the width of a strap could be seen as an example of body shaming.
But there's no guidelines on widths. It says no spaghetti straps.
That's it. That's all it says is no. Right.
And we all know the spaghetti. It's a string. It's basically a string. That's why they call it a spaghetti strap. No bra. No bra. What do they call it? Straps showing, right? But there's nothing on there that says anything about width of a strap. Right?
Well, so here's the thing, right? Like let's just take the foot off the gas for a second, right? Like, okay, what's the big deal, Todd and Scott? Who cares? Blah, 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 blah. You're going to talk about activists, bleedy, bloody, bloody.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We probably are. But here is the smaller kind of broader issue for me at this current moment. I was told one thing about the process. I'm told something else by someone else about how this was decided, and it's lining up a lot more with what the reality is in terms of what the code looks like. Some of our assumptions about activism are clearly being spelled out here in terms of trying to say body shaming has anything to do with a spaghetti strap or the width of a strap might be the biggest stretch I've ever heard in my life. But regardless of all that, proper protocols were not followed. A community member is not serving on that site council.
You would be a community member.
I would be a community member. Connie Moore does not qualify as a community member. Period. The end. I mean, no offense. She's just she's a community member if she lives here. That's right. But
Yeah.
she is a teacher. She is a member of that community in that context, right? So in the school site council meeting, she can't possibly be a community member in that context because she is an employee or even a former employee or a volunteer, whatever her connection still remains, right? She can't fill that role. It's
Right.
not appropriate. It's just not appropriate. So I'm annoyed that I was, I guess, castigated might be the word, in email by Brian. And it's why I think these conversations should happen out loud so we can get direct answers to direct questions. Because this bandying about an email leaves us to a lot of interpretation. You know, things get lost in translation,
Well,
right?
he said this also because you would let me read it. He said, dress code was revised and written by the entire site council after reviewing a variety of other middle school handbooks.
Yep.
We were able to review and consider language from other schools, resulting in the revision of the 2022-23 handbook. Why are you digging around in other schools' handbooks when the one you had, the dress code you had, was perfectly fine? What are you looking for? What are they looking for, right? Again, these are his words. We were able to review and consider language from other schools, resulting in the revision of the 22-23 handbook. If my memory serves me correctly, by having certain guidelines in a dress code that are designated or written for a particular gender can violate the Equal Protection Clause. Just like the 14th Amendment, they're using a broad stroke with that. I went in and read a case study. There was a charter school. It has something to do with public schools, but it's not a hardcore, let's just say, scenario that they can use that says, oh, we have to go by. This is a lame attempt at trying to justify what they did with the dress code. So the dress codes that are designated for a written or particular gender can violate the Equal Protection Clause, right? Why all of a sudden does this come up? And why isn't the other schools? So they went and dug around. Somebody on that committee dug around to other schools and said, we can use this to get them. And then remember, they tried to justify it by the 14th Amendment. So which one is it? Which one is it? Is it the 14th Amendment or is it the Equal Protection Clause? What are you throwing around? Why are you jumbling different rules, right, for this situation? Now, remember what I talked about at the beginning of the school year? Remember they were asking kids their gender, the middle school?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The middle school teachers, some of them were asking what your pronouns are. And to the superintendent's favor, she said, stop doing that. Because parents were irritated at that, right? But they did it. And then I dug this up, right? This group, you take down the...
Gilson.
It's GLSEN, right?
Yep.
That's what it's called. So GLSEN is a group. It's pronounced GLSEN. And it's the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network. And I did some digging on this, and I did it on the show when I showed this. This is sent out to activist teachers. This is literally a guide. As you see, 2022 Educator Guide, right? And in that guide, it talks about middle schoolers. Talks about middle schoolers and how middle schoolers are the targets. So all of a sudden this year, 2022, they changed the dress code. And they start asking about pronouns, right? The middle school, not the elementary school. Nope, not the high school, the middle school. Coincidence? I think not. This is why I call them activist teachers, and people can get sick of me saying it until you're going to realize I'm right. I'm absolutely 100% right. There are activist teachers in the Winthrop school system, and they are doing these things. That committee was hand chosen. I'm guaranteeing it. I'm guaranteeing it was hand chosen. What was the selection process, Principal Curley? What was the selection process? How did you come out with the people that you had on that committee, right?
So let me give you the framework.
Evidently, it's flawed because they had a teacher as one of the community members.
Well, let me give you the framework. So the DESE, as you can imagine.
What does that mean?
The Department of Elementary and Secondary, or the Department of Education, however you want to look at it, the state, they definitely say that there should be faculty members part of it. Faculty members must be part of these school site councils.
Right.
All right. So the framework, but I get, just to kind of clear up your question, how do you decide who are the people that fill the available seats, right? And the available seats are determined basically by the principal of the school and the Department of Education. Who has to be on, they determine who has to be, the titles, if you will, the people that have to be part of the school site council. Interesting thing.
Are you throwing your hat in the ring for next year to be on that council?
What, the school committee?
Yeah, to be the community member.
Oh,
no, not the school committee. On this,
I know what you're saying.
On this council in the middle school.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I think you should. They're not going to select you anyways.
Of course not. Of course not. Why would they?
You're not a like thinker. You're not of the woke mindset.
I had a note here that was interesting that I wanted to share, and now another thing that's come up, and I've put a FOIA in for this, just to process, right? Couldn't find any of the meeting minutes or agendas on the school's website, by the way. For the school,
go figure that.
Now they're not an elected body, so they don't follow exactly, but they should be putting the minutes out there. So I put a FOIA request in for those things, and guess who's the keeper of the minutes? Connie Moore.
Oh,
Connie Moore.
Okay, the community member.
Yes.
/ teacher.
The other thing that I just
is that who it is? Connie Moore. Is that?
Yeah. Yes, you got it right. The other thing I just remembered that I wanted to share was we're being told that everybody participates in the creation of the policy, but let's provide some context here. What I do know, again, from my conversation this afternoon, is that members of the site council were given copies of what the faculty wrote, and obviously afforded opportunity to have input. I wasn't there. This person wasn't there, so they could not answer it. But the first question I'd have is, well, wait a minute. Was I given the option to just have input on what was in front of me? Or could I completely obliterate what was there and say, no, this doesn't work. I don't want this. I don't know the answer to that question, but my gut tells me that they were probably made to feel like this is, follow this route. We've done this, we've done this before. We're in the school systems, because I sat on a school site council before, and while it was a good one and the principal of the building did a great job leading, there was certainly strong personalities and a lot of guiding towards what people wanted from it. There wasn't a lot of discussion about it as much as there was who's going to do what.
Well, my insider told me there was right at the beginning, which charged this whole issue, was an activist teacher or two had a big hand in writing this. It was an activist teacher on the committee that had a big hand in this and pushed it, almost bullied it through, right? Which will make people that don't think like them not want to get on that committee. If they're on
the committee, they're not going to feel comfortable.
It's not going to matter.
Right.
It's not going to matter. So what Principal Curley has on that committee that he should be in charge of, because he's the principal, he's the authority figure in the school, he's the head honcho, he should not let that happen.
He shouldn't have let that.
From what I understood, he gets challenged.
He shouldn't have let that. He should not have let that policy, as it was written, go into the handbook and before the committee for approval, because he is no matter what his views of the world are, he is the principal for everybody in that school.
Yes.
The parents, again, we have the problem that there's apathy with the parents, because here's what happens. Like everyone always says to me, my wife especially, why is it always you, Todd? Why is it always you? Why does no one else? Who are all these people that are mad? I said, they're you, Mom. Elisa, that's my wife's name. They're you. They decide my best course of action is to turn around and protect my children.
Circle the wagons.
And that's what most parents are doing. But the parents don't like this either. They do not like this dress policy. It is completely inappropriate. I mean, again, I'll probably get accused of saying bad things about Brian Curley, but no, Brian, just a bad decision, bro. Just a very bad decision to put something like this. I mean, I'm sorry, it's garbage. It's utter garbage.
To sit on that committee as the principal and say, I see nothing wrong with saying we give children the right to express themselves and we hold the 14th Amendment to its word for a dress code. When the elementary school, Brian Curley, Principal Curley, the elementary school has a better dress code than the middle school. Now, this isn't being old-fashioned. This is being commonsensical, okay? Listen, it says right at the end of the elementary school and the high school dress code, it's ultimately up to the administrator. So, Principal Curley, if you have the normal dress code, like everybody else, uniformity in school is important, in case you didn't know that. Uniformity in certain aspects of school is important. You give these kids structure from elementary school to middle school to high school, right? Structure. Not in the middle school, though. It's chaos. It's a free-for-all.
Well,
right? Ultimately, they could come to your office, Principal Curley, and you'll say, I see nothing wrong with it. Then you addressed it, and they move on. Right? The nurse. You go to the nurse, and the nurse is going to say, because evidently the nurse is the dress code enforcer.
The dress code enforcer?
Does she get paid or he get paid for that, I wonder? Extra?
Probably it's a stipend.
I guess it's a stipend.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm speculating.
Is it a collateral duty, as we say in the military? Is that a collateral duty? You don't get paid for it, but you have to do it?
Like collateral damage. That's cute. Well
collateral
done.
duty. No, it's a duty other than your regular job that you're told to do. You're told, U.S. Customs I had a lot of collateral duties. But ultimately, you open yourself up. Now, they think that they're open themselves. They don't want to open themselves up for a equal, whatever the term was, of the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
How's that law? And I'm telling you, my insider said they are setting themselves up for disaster, because all it takes is one kid to get out of line and do something to another student in a manner not appropriate. You want to talk about a lawsuit, Principal Curley, you and your committee? That's not just a lawsuit. That's a national story. Because there's a couple stories floating around now about high school kids and middle school kids and inappropriate action, and how the administrators just kind of didn't want to deal with it. Like, oh, no, we're good. Well, you better weigh those odds and stop being pushed around and put your foot down and say, let's just stick to the way things were and we'll handle it as it comes. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
I mean, at the end of the day, parents have a right to know. Parents are afraid to ask. Parents are circling the wagons. Parents are doing what they know how to do with the time that they have. And I'm not letting them off the hook. Like I say all the time to people, the handful of teacher friends I have that kind of complain about what goes on in the schools, I say to them, you're part of the problem. You keep writing your dues check, right? You don't speak out against any of the stuff you see that you don't like. Well, it's the same thing with the parents. I mean, I love you guys, and I'm going to keep trying to protect the kids because that's really all I care about. But you can't keep turning your back on this and ignoring it, and then wait. And every time you turn around saying, wow, it's gotten worse, I wonder how that happened. It happened because we haven't done anything. What is like? I'd like to be able to stick a pin in
You know
this.
what people are afraid of? I'm sorry,
What
go
are they
ahead,
afraid of?
finish.
No, go ahead.
From what I was told, there's teachers that are afraid that they're going to lose their jobs if they speak up. Literally,
Right
literally,
now they
Principal
shouldn't be.
Curley.
Right now they shouldn't be because they need teachers. But from a this moment in history, I'd like to stick a pin in it where we talked about the book, Jack, not Jackie, right?
It's not going to. History is not going to look favorably on this.
What we're saying, I believe, in general, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what we're saying here is it's a wedge issue. Right? It's a wedge. It opens the door. It cracks into the elementary school now. It starts imprinting on the child's brain. It starts, and no, most of them are never going to even think about seeing that book. I get it. It's not the point. It's just simply not the point. If one child reads that book and goes through gender affirming care and then regresses or decides that it didn't work, whatever the condition is post surgery, is it the book's fault? I don't know, but it was certainly a step in the process that didn't need to be taken.
Absolutely.
Off topic, by the way, but
no, we're fine. So I posted something recently. Let's see. It was basically if they put that book, Jack Not Jackie, as a and I posted this, they put it as a resource book, right? I posted on the Winthrop Votes Facebook group called Children's Books You Can Trust. Why don't they? It's only a reference, according to those advocate teachers in the elementary school and administrators, to say it's only a reference. What's the big deal? You know what? Then put one of these books in there. Go on Children's Books You Can Trust .us. It's called Brave Books, bravebooks.us. Get one of those books. Oh, but I guarantee you they won't. I guarantee you they won't. They'll put their books in there, but they won't take the opposite side, maybe a conservative book for kids, and put it in there. That's the rub, right? That's where it tells you where they stand. They can say all they want, but actions speak louder than words.
Agreed.
So I dare the elementary school now to go on and get one of those. Go on bravebooks.us, pull a book from there, any book you want, and put it in your references right next to Jack, Not Jackie. I challenge you. I challenge the superintendent, the principal of the elementary school. I challenge you, get one of those books and let us know. And we'll be glad to let the town know. But you won't do it. You won't. You know why? Because you have an agenda. It's pretty simple. It's pretty plain. My cop brain doesn't have to work that hard to figure that one out. But that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. But I dare you, I challenge you to put one of those books in right next to Jack, just as a resource. It's just a resource. That's all. You know.
Well,
that's what they said that book was. It's just a resource.
When I went to the meeting that night, I provided that book that
I saw it.
Walter. Yeah. So I mean, I know that it's being looked into by some of the school committee members. Hopefully they right at the very least we'll see what happens there. Well, I mean,
and that's right. You did do that. That's right. And good for you. Good for you saying put this book right next to it. Yep. They won't even have to go online. They have your book, right? But they won't. Not even as a resource. You know, they use these little guys as kind of escapes. You know, it's gaslighting. Again, they absolutely gaslit that by saying it's just a resource. What is everybody so huffy about?
Right.
We're just going to gaslight you, just like the superintendent did to you that one time, saying it's only one parent complained. That's what they do. They just gaslight you. Make it like it's no big deal. No big deal.
Well, and in this world where only one parent's complaining, it's mostly because, well, there's two main reasons. They don't have the time or really they're not those kind of people. Apparently, you and I are different. Like, we're in the minority. We're people that will stand up for ourselves always, no matter what. And there are people, not everybody does that.
Look, how many messages have you gotten from parents and citizens within Winthrop? Do not think, if you're watching this live stream, whether it's live or you're watching the afterplay, the after view, do not think for a second we don't get a lot of messages.
Right.
Because we do. We do. And most of them is, and when this comes to pass, and it's not just from parents, it's from residents in the community, and it's from within your school system.
Right. That's
and
right.
They're not happy. But you know what? They don't want to get mixed up with the activist teachers that will point the finger and call you a phobe, or a racist. Because that's what they do. They will put you down and they will attack you until you say, I'm not built for this. I just want to fucking go to work.
That's what most people want to do. And activists understand that. Activists know how to beat. At the end of the day, here's the very simple: conservative thinkers, family types, people that want to raise their kids. They have family values, church. Many of them are church goers or synagogue goers or whatever the case may be. But they don't, they're not focused on washing their trash or making compost in their backyard. There's not time, trying to ride a bike to work. It doesn't work for normal everyday people. And at the same time, so the activists know that, and they use it against us, and they're breaking down it is all part of the plan to break down the family unit. That is at the core of Marxism, is to break down the family unit.
Well, they're going to get what they want.
Don't even realize that they're going along with it, right? Like, some of these folks in our school systems don't even realize that by putting a book like this in your resource library, you are aiding and abetting.
Remember, the resource library is in every classroom.
Right. Excuse me. The resource area of every classroom.
Of every classroom. And that's another thing they gaslit. They just said, oh, it's just a resource book. It's in the resource section. They didn't say there's a resource section in every classroom. That was my understanding.
It's true. There is a resource kind of reading area kind of in every classroom in the Fort Banks.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And well, look, Colin McLean, friend of the show, writes, so the discussion is about what kids are wearing, not what they're learning. You're right, Scott. We are fifth in math, science, and reading. I've been banging this drum for a long time. We have lost academics in our school systems, and as we're gaining more activism and politics and pronoun questionnaires and resource books and ally boards and bathrooms for transgender people and who's playing sports on what team. Why are we not? Parents should be pulling their freaking hair out about this stuff. My kids are almost done. So
what do you consider core values?
Is that for me?
Yeah. What do you consider core values, right?
Family.
Oh, so, all right, we'll say in the school, what should a core value be in a school? A core value in a school, right? Core values are important. Every organization has core values. The military has core values.
Right, yep.
Honor, integrity.
Yep. So a safe learning environment.
Right.
Safe learning environment that does its best to meet the needs of its community and students.
Right.
That's what I think for public school.
So the Winthrop Middle School core values, there are 4 of them. These are their core values. Now, while these statements are true and they are meaningful, not to be disregarded, but I don't see these. Like I said, I was in the military for 10 years. I was with U.S. Customs. I was a federal officer for 22 years. I understand core values. Evidently, Winthrop Middle School doesn't understand what core values are. Honor, integrity, and service to others, right? Winthrop Middle School core values, and again, I'm not disregarding these. These are, they just don't belong in core values. They belong as an overall statement. We will not bully others. That's the first one. 2, we will try to help students who are bullied. 3, we will try to include classmates who are left out. And 4, if we know someone is being bullied, we will tell an adult at school or at home. Are those core values of a school? Or are those mission statements?
Feels like a
right?
mission statement.
You can put those into a mission statement, right? Because every child, like some colleges, like you go to nursing colleges, they have a mission statement. This is what we're going to do. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. These are their core values. Like, where does that? Why don't they change that? Why are they changing the dress code that was perfectly fine with a lot, but they change it with a lot of what ifs, but what if, but what if, but their core values are the furthest thing from core values. I don't think they understand what core values are. Principal Curley, I think you might want to look up core values. The school committee should probably look up, because they approve the handbook when they read it, evidently, when they read it.
Sorry,
which, by the way,
guys.
didn't we have this problem before? Didn't the town council had something presented to them? You brought this up. This was you that brought this up.
What the heck was
a couple months ago, 3 months, and they all signed off on it, and then come to find out, none of them read it. You were like, how could you have read this 500-page,
this is
submission?
a while ago, actually, yeah.
Yeah, how could you read this 300-page submission and then that night sign off on it? Like, it was issued out like an hour before or something like that.
Wasn't this when Bon Corey was still on the council that we called this out?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But there are council members that are on there now that were on with him, and they all signed off on it. But so what's up, Winthrop? What's up? You get your shit together? Your committees get your shit together?
Yeah.
Right? Do the right thing. Do your due diligence, or get off the committee.
You got to read the stuff.
Yeah, and read what is presented to you. Do your job that you were elected to do. Don't think I'm in this town and I'm just going to, no one's paying attention. Guess what? Committees in Winthrop, school system, we're paying attention. We're paying attention. And people are paying attention to us. And that's the bottom line. That is a fact. Because like I said earlier, Todd and I, we get messages from people. This is not like people just blowing us off thinking this show moves the needle. Now, whether it moves the needle a lot or a little, it still moves the needle. And we will get your attention. Yeah. Read what is presented to you.
Please, for the love of God.
School committee.
Peter, Paul, and
town council people. Counselors,
yeah. Oh, they took up, by the way, they did take up the ORC stuff the other night. You know, the changes.
Yeah, that we're not going to see until like 2037.
I'll be dead. Thank you for your service.
You won't even be living in Winthrop anymore.
Thank you for your service.
You'll be living in Florida with me.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, thank God.
See, a couple of years ago when you and I met, it was all about, it's too hot down there. Now you want it, buddy.
Well,
I
didn't think. Well, first of all, let's all remember how, even though it was only a couple of years ago, let's all remember how we were when we were younger. The cold didn't bother me as much. This morning I went outside. It was 27. I felt like it was.
Oh 12. Lord. Oh.
Now the good news is my refrigerator died, so my back screened-in porch is my refrigerator.
You got the milk and the butter and the eggs.
All my defrosted meat. Now I gotta cook it so I don't have to throw it all out. It's crazy.
My father does that.
Yeah,
my father does the same thing, man.
Yeah. You can't do that
my
in
back
Florida.
porch.
Huh? Screw the hell with you. You can't do that in Florida.
No, I got 2 refrigerators and a freezer. How's that? And one of the refrigerators is outside. So.
Oh, that thing's working really hard in the summer.
Oh, dude, I got one of them. Like, I bought one of the old school refrigerators.
What, like a
that were built to last, not this, what do they call it when it's built to die in 5 years?
Yeah,
like
it's built to not last.
Obsolete.
Yeah, they're throwaway. Everything's a throwaway.
Yeah. But I got this one, buddy. This thing rattles and shakes, but it's a champ. That thing is a champ.
I can remind me. It reminds me, my grandmother used to scream at me for opening up her Frigidaire because she somehow thought, okay, so she's obviously grew up in the time where the ice block came and you put the ice block in the ice cooler to keep the food cold. When she got her first plug-in, right, refrigerator, she thought is the more you open it, the more the compressor's gonna run and it's gonna break. I don't, who's in the Frigidaire?
Meanwhile, those are the ones that are still running today.
Oh yeah, you can still find
50-year-old refrigerator. That's my father. 50-year-old refrigerator.
Every time I have a repair guy come here to fix my washer and dryer, they're like, "Why you just throw it away?" I'm like, "No, that's not actually true because you fixed it twice and it's still going. I'm not throwing it out."
All right, buddy. We are far from done with the middle school. We're far from done with the trees. We will continue. These things will not get cast aside. We're coming up in the holidays, so
yeah, we better think about taking a couple of days off. Or
the week of Christmas, we won't do anything the week of Christmas, and then probably take a couple weeks off going into New Year's. Or we could just have a quick, end of year kind of recoup and quick show.
Maybe we do something. Yeah, a quick show that recaps some of the hot topics if I can remember.
We'll just say that.
We'll have to go watch.
Just kind of do a. No, I'm serious. I mean, we appreciate the people that participate and call us, and in the end, look I don't hate Brian Curley. I don't hate anybody. He might think I do. I just don't like the job that he's doing, and I think the middle school needs to be straightened out. So he just happens to be. It's nothing personal. It's just business. Just like on the show, it's just nothing personal, just business. Except for Phil Boncory. that was personal. Different. I took up your fight on that one, buddy. All right, listen. You want to take us out?
Where we going?
I don't even know who's winning the Patriots game. Does it matter?
No, there is a pit. Yeah, well, they're 6-6, and anyway. Yeah. So hey, listen. Well, like we always say, right, Scott? All politics starts at the local level. And in my opinion, I always say it ends there. Yet another example of this week, we provided yet another example of local politics and how you can help. So if you like it, share it. And thank you again.
Like I always say, we appreciate you watching and participating. You are the engine that runs this machine. Without you guys, it would just be me and Todd talking and ranting at each other and screaming and yelling and just waiting for him to stop so I can talk. And he waits for me to stop so he can. We do. That's our normal conversation. So.
Right.
We just invite you guys in, I guess. So
thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining in on our rants to each other. And we'll be back next Monday night, day after my birthday. I'll be 59 next Sunday. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Happy birthday. But I look like I'm 49.
Yes.